Hello and welcome to our Q&A session. We're excited that you've decided to join us and learn a little bit more about Mercy Volunteer Corps. My name is Marie and I'm the Program Director for Mercy Volunteer Corps. And as you may already know, we offer placements in education, social services, and healthcare in 10 cities across the United States and in Guyana, South America. And as part of our placement process, and perhaps unique to Mercy Volunteer Corps, volunteers are able to interview with a service site of their choice. And today we're connecting with 3 current Mercy volunteers and an MVC alum who are currently serving in unique placements across the country. So say hello. So if you have a question during this Q&A session, please feel free to reach out. Either the bottom button of our website has a chat with us or leave a message so you can communicate with us through that. Or you can certainly reach out to us through contact us at mercyvolunteers.org and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. So to kick us off, I'm just going to start and ask each of our panelists to share a little bit about themselves, your name, where you're originally from, where you went to college, and what you got your degree in.
I can start. My name is Lena Farrell, and I'm from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I went to a small liberal arts school called Newman University outside of Philadelphia, and I majored in liberal arts.
My name is Chloe Corkery. I'm also from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and I went to Drexel University, which is in Philadelphia, and I studied design and merchandising, so that was like design and business.
Hey, I'm Lizzie Schneeman, and I'm from St. Paul, Minnesota, and I went to the University of Notre Dame in South Bend, Indiana, and I studied psychology and pre-health.
And my name is Rachel. I'm from Minnetonka, Minnesota. I went to Loyola University in Chicago, and I also studied psychology.
So maybe if you can now share where you're currently serving or where you served last year, little bit about your service site and the kind of work that your site does, and then what a typical day looks like for you in your role.
I'm serving at the Intercommunity Justice and Peace Center in Cincinnati, Ohio. So we do education and advocacy work. We have 4 main issue areas, which are the death penalty, peace and nonviolence, human trafficking, and immigration. So with those 4 areas, we go into schools and teach people about the issues. We create toolkits. We host community meetings. So we do a wide range of things to help create systemic change. And yeah, it's been a really interesting experience so far. Like I said, my major was in design and merchandising. So this is a very new field for me. I haven't done a lot of education and advocacy work before. But it's been really great so far. I guess a typical day for me looks like just going into the office in the morning. I read the news for a while, specifically news about immigration. And then if there's anything that kind of stands out to me, then I summarize it and I send it to our immigration program coordinator so that she can kind of put it out in our newsletter about immigration, and then I start working on my projects. I'm a program assistant, so I help out with each of the program areas wherever I'm needed. So at any given time, I'm working on several different projects. A lot of that involves like research and writing, and yeah, so that's kind of what I do. Sometimes it's going to meetings, but a lot of times it's in the office.
Great, thanks, Chloe.
So last year I served in St. Michael's, Arizona at St. Michael's Association for Special Education. And I worked in the therapy department. I wanted to go into physical therapy and I'm in physical therapy school now. So I was kind of helping with PT, OT, and helping the speech therapy aide that already worked there. So St. Michael's, Arizona is on the Navajo Reservation. It's right near the Four Corners and it's a pretty rural area. Last year, a typical day for me would look like in the mornings, we ran like a cafe with the students at the school. So these students, their abilities are all over the spectrum. Some are verbal, some are nonverbal. So there's accommodations for all the activities we do. So for the cafe, we would have students taking orders, making the coffee, delivering the orders. And that was a fun way to start each morning. And then later in the morning and in the afternoons, we would have therapy groups. So either working individually with students on PT, OT, speech skills, or working as a whole classroom to do like social skills, daily routines, different things like that to help them just with to be more independent in their everyday life.
Thanks, Rachel.
I currently am at Chris Ray High School, which is in Sacramento, California. And it is such an interesting model for a high school because it's for low-income families. So our students don't pay typical tuition that most Catholic high schools would have students pay. A lot of them come to us from really poverty-stricken areas, and so we're able to provide them that Catholic education for a reduced price. And so my typical day is really jam-packed, and no day is typical because I could be anywhere on campus. I'm involved with campus ministry, so I can be doing things such as prepping for retreats, prepping for liturgies. I work one-on-one with a student and making sure that she gets everything that she needs to get done throughout the day. So helping her with homework. I'm also just a resource for students to stop by my office, and if they need help with homework or looking over a paper or even just to come talk, I'm really just there as a presence for our students.
All right, and I am at Good Samaritan Clinic, which is a fully free clinic. You have to become a patient there, you just have to be 200% below the poverty line. So we work with a lot of immigrants in the area, and you can't have health insurance. So all of our services are free. 80% of our patients are Spanish speaking. So yeah, typical day, I come in, help with, my title is a medical assistant, so I help with the lab, triaging, checking people in, making appointments, answering phones, just kind of a wide range of things, whatever needs to be done around the office. And if anyone needs help, some translating, just helping we just have 2 nurse practitioners, so if they need help with procedures or anything like that, just kind of float around.
Sure, there might be some questions out there about love, the sound of that certain position, but I may or may not have studied it in college. Am I able to participate? Is that something that I can interview for? And so if you each could speak a little bit about your position and if there was a specific degree required for your position or certain kind of experience or training, or are you stepping into something that you didn't really study in college and this is kind of a new experience for you? And then also in your experience of having served in that role, are there certain skills or abilities that you think would be really helpful for a volunteer to have?
So at the clinic, like I said, about 80% of our patients are Spanish speaking. So that is kind of a big skill to have. It's really useful. The rest of our staff, except one of our nurse practitioners, they're all fluent. So that's really awesome. They all are, but then just being able to kind of be flexible and help out in all areas of the clinic, it is really helpful. But at the same time, I was definitely not fluent when I started at the clinic. And so using that every day and just being submersed in that, just my Spanish speaking capabilities have skyrocketed in the 6 months that I've been here. So some background is definitely helpful, but fluency is not necessary for this role. A specific degree, I don't think is necessary. An interest in healthcare definitely would be a pro. I'm working in the lab sometimes, and specific skills, phlebotomy and stuff, I've learned or gotten better at working at Good Sam. So yeah, I think any degree could do it. Interest in healthcare definitely would help, and any medical background that you have would just help in feeling comfortable there and more skills that you could do.
Lizzie, did you get any on-site training as well at the clinic?
Yeah, for sure. In the lab skills, definitely. The Spanish skills too, learning new words, helping the nurse practitioners with some procedures and things. And like, maybe even if you've done them before, but they like to do them certain ways. So a lot of on-site training, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So although, oh, go ahead.
In St. Michael's, having the experience of working with people with disabilities is definitely helpful prior to serving in St. Michael's. But even as someone who did have experience with that beforehand, I know there was certainly like a transition period just because of the level of exposure you have at St. Michael's and working with the students and clients every day. So some of that experience is helpful going in and knowing how to work and how to be in a place like that. In terms of degree, I studied psychology, but I knew I wanted to go into physical therapy. So if you are interested in PT or OT or speech and have exposure to those things with previous volunteering or shadowing opportunities, that's all really helpful to go into the school with. But similar to Lizzie said, you get some on-site training, and there is a learning curve because it's such a specific population. So there's going to have to be adjustments with the knowledge you have coming in. But I'd say those things are helpful if you're planning or wanting to go to St. Michael's.
So although you're working at a high school at Cristo Rey, you really don't need any kind of specific experience. I really think you just need really good communication skills, because that's what the students need, and you're working both with students and the faculty there. And so being able to communicate effectively with the students and get down on their level, but also be able to transition and talk to adults and be able to express yourself that way is really important. I think I'm super fortunate because when I came in, they had like a very skeleton kind of schedule of what they wanted me to do and what they wanted me to be involved with. But when I kind of expressed, I want to do more with campus ministry, I want to do more where I can be in my office and be this outlet for students, they really worked my schedule to be able to let me have that time to be able to work in those different areas. So being able to say what you want and be able to be open to whatever it is that they want you to do is certainly a plus.
Yeah, like I kind of mentioned before, what I'm doing now is not at all what I studied in school, and it's been a really interesting and eye-opening experience because of that. I think, yeah, there definitely is like a learning curve for mine as well. I think some understanding of like the systems and history in place that have led to things that need systemic change can be important, but you don't have to necessarily have a wealth of knowledge about that. When I started, they gave me like a whole binder of resources and like articles to read and YouTube videos to watch, just to kind of give me like a wealth of knowledge and a good like background understanding of the issues that we work on. And then each of the program coordinators did a 101 with me. So they just went over like, okay, this is kind of like what I do when I go into a school, or like this is what's going on with my program, and this is what we try to educate people on. So you get those 101s to begin with to kind of like understand the issue areas. So that was really helpful. And the staff is really wonderful in that like they have no problem answering all of your questions. I have a lot of questions, and they really explain things well, and like are very understanding, and just really welcoming people. So that really helped with the learning curve. And I think like some basic skills that are helpful are just like an interest in these systems, and an interest in research and writing. That's a lot of what you do. And maybe like design and public speaking would be helpful, but not totally necessary. Just basically just having a curiosity and an interest, and really wanting to learn more about these issues.
I think, as hopefully all of you have kind of tuning in have heard, there are a few of our positions that require a specific degree because it's a more specialized position, but so many of our positions don't require a special degree. It's more the qualities that you bring in as a volunteer. And so if you want to try something different that you don't have a background in, a lot of our sites, are open to that and willing to look at how might your skills match the position and have some flexibility there. So kind of an opportunity maybe to do something different or to go deeper into an experience or population that you've really wanted to work with. So thanks for highlighting that piece in your sharing. I'm hoping that maybe you might share a meaningful moment in the experience of working at your service site, something that really kind of either brought you deeper connection and relationship, or maybe was an aha moment with an issue, something that was stretching for you. So if you could just share a meaningful moment.
So when I think about this, a specific day comes to mind. It wasn't necessarily like a single moment that was like, oh yes, but we had our staff retreat at my house in Cincinnati, or the NBC house here, which is this beautiful old house, and it was really wonderful to have all the staff at IJPC. Well, it's a very small staff, so the 4 other staff members at IJPC come and be able to experience this house with me, and then we got to really just like sit down and do a lot of bonding, and I really felt like everyone was being heard, and we were talking about, what are we doing well as an organization? What do we need to kind of like change? How are people feeling? Like, are we pushing the needle on this issue? Is there something else we need to focus on? And everyone was really like, it really felt like everyone was heard and everyone was listening really well, and it was really constructive, and it felt like we really just came together as a staff, and I felt very like included in the IJPC family, and it was just a really special day of kind of coming together and talking things through. So yeah.
I had a moment 2 weeks ago, I believe, with one of our patients he's a younger man who had a stroke, I believe. And so one side of his body was not working as well, and he had a walker, and the walker that he got from some other organization that was one that you kind of have to like lift up and move with you, and it was pretty difficult for him to use. So he came in with his mom for an appointment and asked if we by chance had any walkers with wheels. So I just went back and looked in our storage closet, and we happen to have one, and actually a really nice one that has a seat, so you can pause and brake when you're walking, and it has brakes on it. And so I brought that out, seemingly a very just kind of simple thing. Hey, we had this in the back. Will this work? And I gave it to him, and his mom started crying like immediately, and was just saying like, well, this is going to make such a difference in our lives. It's going to be so much easier for him. And I thought it was like this really simple, here, we're not using this. And it just made such a big difference in their lives. And it just kind of made me think about the work that we're doing and how maybe day to day it seems very small and not that big of a deal to us. But to these patients that can't get services elsewhere or are dealing with a lot of really scary and stressful things that are like little things that we can do make a really big difference in their lives. And then just he came in for his checkup a couple of days ago and just walked in and he said, "Hey, I'm loving my new ride." And it just like made my day. It was awesome.
Oh, thanks.
So at the school, we do a Christmas program for the families because a lot of them can't afford Christmas for their children. And typically the students aren't only children, they have many other siblings. And so we get so many Christmas gift donations from the donors of our school, and I offered to help out for the day. And oh my gosh, there was not a moment, I don't think, where my eyes weren't dry, just because it was so moving to be able to have these parents so humbly come to the school, and all they want is to give their kids a Christmas. And these are students that I see every day, and here were their parents just wanting to pick up gifts and be able to surprise them with that. But I love how the school was able to do it in a way that it was as if the gifts were coming from the parents. So we didn't wrap the gifts so it's that they could still have that connection with it, of giving the gift themselves. But it was really touching because there was one student in particular who had to come because they weren't able to get a sitter for his younger siblings. And so they had to bring the whole family, and he just was beside himself and just so grateful for what he was able to get, because he got everything on his Christmas list. And it just was really, really super moving at how just grateful he was to be able to receive something that I know, like, I went home for Christmas and I didn't have a doubt in my mind that I would have something special waiting for me at home.
I think one of the days that sticks out for me in my mind from last year is the day that St. Michael's School, we held prom for our students and clients. And the day as a whole was pretty chaotic. We were running around, we were trying to get dressed up and trying to decorate and all these things. And some plans fell through, so we had to accommodate and change plans and all these things. But at the end of the day, I just look back, and it was one of those moments where everyone came together, and I felt like the spirit and resilience of like the school in St. Michael's, and I felt the spirit of mercy in my community that day. And it was really special to have that opportunity for the kids to celebrate like any normal kid would do, on prom, and get dressed up and dance and have food. And it was chaotic, like I said, but everyone came together to make it happen for them, and it ended up being a really special day for everyone involved.
Sharing those moments. I'm curious if you looked at other programs besides Mercy Volunteer Corps when you were discerning that next step and making the decision to do long-term service, and if you could talk a little bit about that, as well as in the end, what stood out to you for your choice of moving forward with MVC and being a Mercy volunteer.
I actually originally applied for Quaker Voluntary Service because that's my faith tradition. And so that's what I thought I wanted to do. And I didn't end up getting any of those positions, so I was really disappointed. And then MVC got connected with me through Quaker Voluntary Service because they're sister organizations. And I started looking into it more, and I was like, wow, there's so many like parallels here, like all the values of QVS were in MVC. And so I thought it sounded like a really great fit, and it had all the elements of like a year of service that I wanted, growth in spirituality and living in community and being like intentionally living minimally, and of course serving. So in all those ways, I was really excited about MVC.
Coming from a Jesuit undergraduate institution, I applied to 3 different volunteer programs, and I was trying to discern between those 3 once I was offered positions, and that was a really challenging time for me. I understood what discernment was, but I wasn't sure how I was supposed to do it. But what really drew me to MVC first was just the position in St. Michael's. I really was seeking out somewhere with some cultural exchange, and living on the Navajo reservation really provided that. I also wanted something health, PT related, hopefully. And I had worked with people with disabilities in the past, so it seemed like a perfect position for me. But I think what kept me with MVC and what sustained even now as a MVC alum is the intentionality that MVC has, like in every conversation from the very beginning when I sent in my application to now when I was asked to be on the panel. Like, there's just so much intention in every conversation, and the staff is truly there for you and walking alongside you through the experience, as well as your community and the people at your site. But I just really appreciated the intentionality that MVC holds.
I looked into the Jesuit Volunteer Corps, Peace Corps, and MVC. I ended up only applying to MVC. I think the things that drew me to it really were the community aspect of it, the people I talked to in the program, the Marie, Danielle, and just I think the community thing was a big thing. A lot of the other programs didn't really have that emphasis on living in community, and it was kind of send you out on your own to do service. And so that really drew me. And then also the specific site. I saw this, and I think a lot of other programs don't have such specific healthcare sites where you get hands-on experience. And I think that's really unique and a really awesome aspect of the site that I'm at.
And then I also, in addition to MVC, was looking at JVC and a specific program through AmeriCorps. But what stuck out for MVC, it was the last place that I actually ended up interviewing for. And everything that I needed to know about what I wanted in my next step was definitely discovered in that interview. I remember I was with Sarah, and everything I was saying, she just took in. And so, like Rachel said, it's just so intentional, and you feel so seen, and everything's so personable from the very first interaction you have with MVC. And so I think that just made me feel so much ease and so much peace when I left the interview, that I was like, I would be dumb not to seize this opportunity.
And our last question is, there's folks watching out there that are thinking about this as a possibility, weighing a lot of different opportunities or different directions to take. Any advice for those who are watching from either your own experience, your own discernment process, anything to share with them to kind of give them a good word as they sit with this decision?
I would say talk to people. That I think all of us kind of had that experience of talking to staff members at MVC, but talk to other people maybe that have done it. They're already listening in on this. Hopefully this is helpful. I think talking to people, asking questions is such a big one, and can really bring, like Lena said, bring a lot of peace in that decision.
Yeah, I think in addition to talking with people, you also need to spend time with yourself and kind of spend time with God too, and seeing what it is that you do want. And, sometimes you figure out what you do want by first figuring out what you don't want, and that's okay. And that really just reflecting with yourself and taking in what people are saying, because if you're going to people who love you, you're going to get just the best responses, because they want what's best for you. And so you take that and you just offer it up.
I I think it's like such a huge privilege to participate in a year of service and have that opportunity, but that doesn't mean it's an easy decision when you're trying to discern. So just being okay with it being challenging and sitting with those decisions and those options, and just to echo what they've said, to talk to each other, talk to the staff in each program, talk to professors at your school, talk to your family, and then just to sit with it and pray if that's something that's helpful for you. But to not dismiss it as something that should be an easy decision, because it's not.
Yeah, I think going off that, even if you feel that this is the right thing for you, it still may be a scary thing to think about. And don't let that like push you away from doing this. I think it definitely is stepping outside of your comfort zone, and probably in many ways. And I think that can be a really great thing, because like no matter what happens at the end of MVC, you will have grown so much. And so I think that's like an important thing to think about. Like, no matter what goes on this year, there's going to be challenges. It's not going to be easy, but you will grow and you'll be a stronger person at the end. So just keeping that in mind, that even if it seems like a scary thing, don't dismiss it because of that. It still may be the right thing for you.
Well, with that, I just want to thank our panelists, Lena and Lizzie and Rachel and Chloe, for joining us today to share some of their experiences and insights from their Mercy Volunteer Corps experience, and also for you watching and in that way participating in our conversation. And if this sparked or renewed some interest in our program and our placements, please feel free to visit our website. There's a service sites tab on the top that is organized by city and service placements. So please feel free to look at that and check out some of our placements. A reminder that our international placement deadline is coming up on March 2nd. And then our US placements, we do a rolling process. And so interview and place volunteers as we receive the applications. And that usually ends sometime in the beginning part of June. But we always recommend that if you're interested in a specific placement, and maybe one that was mentioned here, that you apply sooner rather than later, as we do place on an ongoing basis. And so you have a greater selection earlier on in the process. If you have any questions, again, please feel free to reach out to us by tapping that chat with us or leave a message button on our website, or contacting us through contactus@mercyvolunteers.org. So thanks again for joining us, and have a wonderful day.